Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Pieces guest speaker series as we continue to chat with the candidates for treasurer. As you may know, the Law Society will be electing a new treasurer later this month. And today we have Bob up. Bob, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, JP. I have been a lawyer since 1980. I have a traditional solicitor's practice of residential and commercial real estate, estate planning, and estate administration. I'm in a firm of approximately 60 lawyers and 90 support staff. It's called Devery Smith Frank. Been here for about 12 years. But prior to that, I was a sole practitioner for 24 years with full responsibility for all aspects of the practice, everything from office leasing and relations with the landlord, office equipment, HR issues, hiring, onboarding, and the like, salaries and benefits, marketing, advertising, promotion, budgeting. I'm running out of breath. Cash flow management, banking, bookkeeping, accounts receivable, accounts payable, managing the expectations of clients, and making sure that work was done promptly and professionally. So that's the life of a sole practitioner. I know it's a long sentence, but I did want everyone to hear it. And the last thing is that over the years, my passion has been encouraging and mentoring students and young legal professionals through my practice and through the Armenian Bar Association.
Perfect. So, I mean, what you didn't touch on there, I guess, is that you've been a bencher and now you are running for treasurer. And tell me why you're running for treasurer and what brings about it here. I mean, I
Well,
know we got one more year left in this sort of cycle. So, what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I'm in my second term as a bencher, and that experience has given me an opportunity to observe what we're doing well and some of the things that I believe we can do better. My motto for this campaign, what I've shared with the benchers, is change happens at the speed of trust. If we trust each other and commit ourselves to work together, real change will happen. My goal in being the face of the regulator is to equip, enable, and empower legal professionals to deliver excellent service to members of the public. Um, and when it comes to being a solicitor, although we make up approximately one-third of the practicing lawyers, and a solicitor has not served as a treasurer since 1985 when Susan Elliott took that role. This sends a message to solicitors and not a good one. So I think it's time that the convocation recognize the important contribution of solicitors and have one who will lead us.
Now, you've touched on change there, and certainly the Law Society has undergone a number of significant changes over the last 3 years. And I know you also have the perspective of having been a bencher for the previous 4 years there. If you can highlight one change from this latest regime and share your thoughts on it, what would it be and why?
I think it's the governance review process. Convocation has concluded that the board size is not manageable, and they voted to reduce it. If those changes in fact take place, the treasurer will have a leadership role in managing that change. Um, a number of things are going to happen. There'll be increases in the workload for benchers, and it's going to be necessary in view of that to review the current committee structure and have a more robust onboarding process so that new benchers, both lawyers, paralegals, and lay benchers will know exactly what their responsibilities are.
So let's say you are elected as the treasurer, and I think the results come out in about 10 days from now. What is the first thing you would do in your first 100 days as treasurer?
The first thing on the first day is to begin the process of getting onboarded and seek out the assistance of the senior staff, the current treasurer, and a former treasurer, Teresa Donnelly, who she's just a wealth of knowledge, and I'm going to rely on them to get myself onboarded. After that, I think it's probably not realistic to meet with each bencher over the summer due to time constraints, but I'll do my best. And at the very least, I'll aim to meet with the members of committees to review their work plans and make sure that they have the resources to meet their objectives because we have only 1 year before the next election, and there are always there are always important there's always important work that needs to be done at the committee level.
Now, in terms of the treasurer position, what qualities do you think are most important in an effective treasurer? Now, you've mentioned former treasurer Teresa Donnelly, and perhaps know you've seen some others, obviously, in the years since her. But what do you think is most important, and how do those qualities align with your own leadership style?
I think the first thing is to be an active listener and a consensus builder. Um, my experience as a solicitor will be helpful because in most cases, with the transactions that we do day in and day out, we want happy clients. The mantra in the real estate business is buyers want keys, sellers want money, and our job is to make it happen, hopefully seamlessly. Um, so as a leader, I've always relied on my legal professional colleagues and my support staff. If I could pat myself on the back for one thing, my three senior staff members have been with me 40 years, 27 years, and the rookie 25 years. So I think I'm doing something right on that front. We work as a team, and I rely very heavily on their input and advice.
Now, one of the roles, or I mean, maybe even the main role for the treasurer is leading convocation composed of benchers, with very, differing views, and certainly something that you've been alive to in your time over the last 7 years as a bencher at the Law Society. How would you nonetheless build consensus while still moving, the important initiatives forward?
Um, this is a tough one. Um, you know the saying, when you get two legal professionals in a room, sometimes you get four opinions. And the cynics will say that that's how we make a living. Um, I'm not a cynic. But in fact, each elected bencher comes to convocation with a list of priorities because they've been campaigning. They've heard the concerns of the individuals who they are trying to solicit to vote for them, and they want to be able to address those. My job as treasurer is to do my best to assist the benchers in prioritizing the issues. We want all of them to be addressed, but some of them have a greater sense of urgency. And I want to encourage them to create a process to work toward a realistic solution for each one, given the time constraints. I think that's something that's something I've been good at as a board member. I've been on the boards of charities, and probably more important, I've done work for charities when they've wanted to purchase properties, repurpose them, build from scratch, and I've had to deal uh, with boards who are very enthusiastic, but aren't necessarily on the same page. Um, it's difficult to design a building by committee, but we've managed to do it. I could drive you through Toronto and point to several buildings that are being used for charitable purposes. Um, and those are projects that I'm really proud of. And I think I can bring that same skill of bringing people together to a diverse group of benchers.
Now, you've touched on a few things, but what do you believe are the greatest opportunities and the greatest challenges currently facing the law study right now?
Well, we're a year away from an election. This is an opportunity to clear things up and move forward. For me, restoring trust with the licensees has to be a number one priority. The fact is, our licensees aren't confident in us, um, and they don't trust us. They don't have confidence in us, and they don't see us producing the kind of work and work product that we require them to produce. Frankly, I've had more complaints from licensees about the rollout of LSO Connect, which I've nicknamed LSO Disconnect, than any other issue. And this is the program that's supposed to be a one-stop shop where you can log in and see the status of your CPD requirements and your payments to the Law Society and Law Pro. And it's been pumping out incorrect information. In addition, the Law Society, for some reason, had this idea that law firms should not be able to make the payments for all of their employed licensees and that each person would have to do it individually. Um, there was outrage from the profession and the firms, And eventually they developed a way of rolling that back, but it wasn't perfect. Um, I think that sometimes the biggest thing you can do when something has gone sideways is just simply apologize. Um, and if we apologized to the professions for LSO Connect, I think that would be a good start. Let's face it, JP, people remember how you made them feel. More than anything else, um, a good motto would be, if you mess up, fess up. And that's how we can earn respect.
Well, speaking of fessing up there, the treasurer is often the face of the Law Society. So how would you, especially when there's situations, as you outlined, where somebody's got to be put in front of the firing squad, so to speak. So how would you strengthen that engagement between the Law Society, its licensees, and the general public?
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by put in front of a firing squad.
Well, I mean, like as you said, like the LSO connects, right? The
Mhm.
people are gonna be complaining, and somebody's got to be sort of there to take the customer service kind of role on and say, hey, as you said, we got to fess up because we messed up, right? So,
Yeah,
how do you sort of see the treasurer kind of playing that role?
I think that the treasurer is the spokesperson um, for the regulator. Maybe it's the convocation that made a mistake. Maybe it's staff. Um, maybe it's a software provider. But in the end, the customer is always right. And the treasurer has to be the voice, whether it's issuing a press release or something like this, or going to the stakeholders, the bar association, the members of the county law associations. Um, it will be my job to make things right. And that's not something I can delegate.
And so, if you are elected, where would you like to see the Law Society, a year from now? I mean, what would be the most important step to achieving that vision now that you can kind of look back a year later and say, well, I was able to accomplish what I had set out to do?
There are so many things. I hear from our licensees that our customer service is lacking. And compared to um, com compared to organizations that don't have a monopoly, customer service doesn't appear to be a priority, at least in the minds of our licensees. And with respect to the 1 year window, those conversations need to begin immediately, um, so that we can achieve realistic goals together. JP, the elephant in the room is an election in 2027. So the campaigning may start fairly quickly. Um, but my view is that there are loose ends in any organization that you need to address and tidy up before um, there's a new administration. And we, the benchers and the staff, should do our best to attend to them, because our goal should be to have an organized, disciplined, and functional structure that we can hand off to the next bench with a robust, ongoing process. We want them to hit the ground running. Um, and um, that is something that we should all want to do. It's a 4 year term. We don't want to spend the first year figuring out where everything is and who's responsible for what. And I believe that if we're organized and we're diligent, we can make that happen.
Now, Robert, sorry, Bob, what would you like benchers to remember most about your candidacy when they cast their vote starting on Wednesday, I believe, or t tomorrow when this gets aired?
Yeah. I would like them to remember this, and I've said this to them, I'll say it to you. I am not running to be the treasurer. I'm running to be their treasurer, and I want them to think of me and themselves as my benchers. Because that way, I think we can work together to make change at the speed of trust. If we trust one another, great things can happen.
Perfect. So Bob, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me here today. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on anything else. Now we have a little bit of time still left, but anything that you can think of that you may Felte, I might want to talk a little bit more about, but otherwise, thanks for taking the time and joining us here
Oh
today.
no, I'm very pleased to be here. I do want to mention this. I'm running not against, but with three amazing people. And I want to acknowledge them for their willingness to step up and articulate their visions for the regulator. In my heart, there's no animosity. They're wonderful people. Uh, and perhaps one of us is going to win and the other three are going to be relieved. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I am certainly thankful that all four of you took the time to join me, and whichever one of you emerges as treasurer, I hope that as part of being the face, as I mentioned earlier, that whether it's with me, whether it's others in the profession, that you can continue the dialogue over the next year, especially as you go into elections and a lot that's going to be happening, and it's great that people are involved and communicating from the Law Society to those who are interested. So thanks again, Bob, and thanks for everyone for tuning in, and best of luck and take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.